Yo, 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 welcome to another episode of Learning Manhood. Today I want to talk to you about something that I feel sometimes. Sometimes I feel like I don't stack up. Like I'm out here doing my best, but my best is just not good enough for the people around me, and they deserve more than what I am able to give. So, hello, my name is Eddie. This is the Learning Manhood podcast where I'm a fellow student on this journey of understanding what biblical manhood looks like. And if these questions are ones that you've had before, ones that you're having right now, today's episode is for you because we're going to talk about self worth and identity, seeing yourself through God's eyes. And so the question is, why are we talking about this? Like, why is this even a subject matter that we should even be discussing on the Learning Manhood podcast? Is because we are men striving to learn and grow in our manhood and lead our families in a way that God intends us to. But sometimes, right? Sometimes I'm just going to keep it funky with you. We feel like the household punching bag, right? Like, to be the leader of your household, to be the leader that God called you to be, he called for servant leadership. And to serve, oftentimes you find yourself feeling like less than, you know, there are times where you just do not feel appreciated for the things that you do. And I'm just gonna keep it real with you. Yeah, I said it. Like, Father's Day just passed. Let me just put it to you like this. Father's Day just passed. And let me say, I had a wonderful Father's Day. My family took care of me. We had a good time. We ate. We got sleepy. We took naps. It was great. But it made me think of how different a production it is from Father's Day to Mother's Day, right? Now, Father's Day is one of those holidays that isn't actually really celebrated because the vast majority, we have a generation and a half of fathers that did not do a good job. So people don't care to celebrate Father's Day. And we're trying to change that here on the Learning Manhood podcast. So we're going to get better, brothers, this year. Look, our kids are going to get so hyped for Father's Day because this is going to be the greatest and it's all going to be because of us. But the difference in production value that it is from Father's Day to Mother's Day, even just commercially, like, it's hard to see your value as a father as you are trying to do better in this world. Because I mean, if you think about it, they started Mother's Day sales corporately like mad early, and they got all these things and all the commercials and all the things going on. But then for Father's Day, it's just like, yeah, we got charcoal on sale, a few funny cards, and call it a day, right? So I can see how even in myself that there are times where my self-worth, starts to dwindle. And so I wanted to talk today about that and how we can better see each other and better see ourselves through God's eyes. Um, and that's just like in your house, you should feel the safest, right? But the world, like we talked about already, is kind of already designing a way to minimize you as not only a man, but as a father. Um, so today we're going to talk about the powerful truth about our identity and embrace the unique value that we each hold. I want to caveat that what I'm not talking about is self-esteem, which, can fluctuate depending on what outfit you're wearing, right? Self-esteem is one of those things that it's your self-confidence. It's very tangible in such a way that you can change it almost immediately. Someone can walk up to you and be like, you know what, bro, you look good today, man. Like, you wearing them shoes, like, and your self-confidence will go up, right? We're not talking about your self-esteem here. We're talking about that self-worth, that internal feeling that you are not good enough, which is opposite to self-esteem, which can reflect specifically to your confidence level. You can have a high confidence level with a low self-worth, and a lot of us do that. And if you look online right now, like, there's a lot of people that are faking it till they make it, right? They got a very high confidence level, but they do not value themselves as a person, right? We can see that over and over again by the way that people sell themselves over and over and over again to causes they don't even believe in. And low self-worth can keep you up in the middle of the night, right? Wondering why you're even here, wondering who would miss you if you were gone, and how you are just a burden on others. And so today we're going to get into that topic because I want to make sure that as men, as we are learning how to grow in our manhood, that we are valuing ourselves, because there were times in my life in which I did not value myself. So when asked, who are you? I imagine most of us will start to name job titles and positions we hold, or within the realms of our relationships with other people. Like, Eddie, who are you? I am a father, a husband. I'm in the military. I've been in there for over 18 years. I consider myself a runner, and I am an avid reader. Um, all these are titles that do not describe who I am as a person, right? They are just things I do and things I like. So when I sat down to do the notes for this, I was like, you know what? Let's write down who I am really. And this is what I wrote down. I wrote down, I am a creative. I am passionate about my calling. I am inwardly emotional, trying to learn how to bring it out. I will die on the hill that says that I am funny. And I have a keen eye for details that see a message even in the smallest interactions. I am beautifully flawed in ways only God can heal. Man, I had to take a moment after writing all that down, honestly, because I was not expecting to pull that out of myself, to be honest. I wanted to keep going, and I probably should have when I was writing that down, but um, it was a lot to really just look at the internal version of me and really start to identify who that person is and really look at who I was as a man. And I encourage all of you to sit down and take some time and actually write down the question, who am I really? If it was any way, shape, or form as helpful for you as it was for me to really shape how God can really look at me, how God looks at me, and how I should look at myself. Um, it's definitely an exercise worth practicing. I know some of you are not as tactile as I am. I have to write everything down. Like, even when I'm journaling or Bible studying or whatever, I have to write things down for it to stick. But even if it is just a note on your phone, right? Even if it's just something that you are holding on to refer back to be like, okay, I'm having a bad day, but this is not who I am. This is not what I am. This is just a phase I am going through. Um, my list was built on some biblical foundations of, self-worth that I'm planning on sharing here today. But all these characteristics and what make up who I am, and I'm seeing them through a lens of positivity, um, like they were placed there on purpose, right? I think that I am downright hilarious. Like, I will die on that hill that I am a funny dude. I am still working on trying to bring that humor to my podcast and the video cast, and I'm trying to figure out how best to bring my personality out in that, but I still like I am hilarious. I feel like I'm hilarious and no one's going to tell me any different. Now, my wife may not agree. If she wrote out this list, she might say that her husband is adorably corny, right? And it's all a matter of how we look at things and the way that God sees me and the way that I don't see, I look at the way God sees me, and he would have made me funny. He didn't sprinkle in a little bit of adorably corny. He dumped a whole bucket of hilarious in there and was like, "This is what's gonna be great for Eddie," and I'm gonna down that hill, right? That's how God sees me. But to round out the point, the thing that really sticks out about seeing yourself through God's eyes is the one thing that really resonated with me as I was writing that list is inwardly emotional and learning to bring it out. And that right there is an acknowledgement of some of my own pain, my own trauma, but knowing that part of me has to lean on God to get that part fixed. God sees me all day, every day. And there was a phrase when I was a kid, we used to say all day, every day, and twice on Sunday. But he knows my struggles just like he knows when I'm down. He knows when I'm up, and he knows that I'm still the man he called me to be, regardless of how I feel, how I see myself, or how the world sees me. Now, that's the most important part of this message that I think we should really hone in on, is that God sees you for who you are and who he made you to be in totality, even including who you are becoming, right? And he loves that version of you, all of it, at all times. So the first foundation I wanted to share comes from my main man, David. I am so hyped I look. If you don't know, if you haven't been following any of my other content, as I have been growing into this podcast, David is my guy, and I will let me allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Eddie, and I stand King David. Like that is my dude. He is the giant slayer, the funky dancer, the man after God's own heart himself, the GOAT, David. And one of these days, I'm gonna have to sit down and do an episode series on how much of a GOAT David really was, and all the trauma that he went through, and that led him to one of the greatest redemptive gifts in the Bible that a man has ever known, and really break down why I think David's the GOAT. But that's not today's episode. If you want to hear that episode, hit me up at cultivatedmindsmen at gmail.com, or hit me up on Instagram and tell me that's what you want to hear about my guy David, and I will happily oblige. Anyway, so the first verse is from Psalms, of course, my man David. It is Psalms 139, and most people hear this verse and really lean into it when they are feeling attacked about something in their lives. And it's one of those Christianese things that, people will keep in their hip pocket and throw out and be like, oh, this one, when someone is trying to critique them about a thing, is one of those Christian staples, and it loses its impact due to its familiarity. But today we're going to look at it for its truth. And the verse is Psalms, well, the book and chapter and verse are Psalms 139, chapters 13. Psalms 139, 13 through 14. For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful, and I know that full well. Now, the same God. Now, this is the part that people always bring out this one out the hip pocket. Like, no, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I don't care if you think my outfit's gross. Bam, fearfully and wonderfully made. I don't care if my hair needs to get cut. Bam, like people throw that out there like that. But really, what it really boils down to is the same God that made every beautiful thing that you've ever put your eyes on. Every single beautiful thing that you have ever been like, wow, man, that is beautiful. Like, that same God made you. That same God made you. Now, I love those aerial drone shots where they're going over like a jungle or a waterfall, and it's all in ultra 4K HD, and it's beautiful. Like, I love that stuff, and I love nature in general. So it's one of those things that I'm just like, man, wow, look at God's majesty. Like, we got this waterfall coming down, and it's coming over the cliff, and it's turning into mist, and look at that, it's feeding all these plants. Like, this is amazing. Oh my gosh, that same God made me. Like, that same God that took the time to make a cliff waterfall made my goofy butt. Like, gotta love it, and so that's the way I want to look at that verse when we're talking about our self-worth, right? You are worth something because God called you to be worth something. He did not make you for nothing, right? Excuse me. Now, my next verse is Ephesians, and it reads, For we are all God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared us in advance to do. That's Ephesians 2 and 10. Now, when I do not feel like I have the value of those around me, or my worth is in question based on the things going on in my life, or like the enemy is whispering in my ear. This is when I remember that I'm not just here on this spinning rock, for funsies, right? I have a gift, a talent, and a purpose, and that is intrinsically provides me value. For example, you don't hire someone to do a job that you don't value. Right? You're not going to hire someone to clean your house if you do not value having a clean house and not having to do it for yourself, right? So you spend that money to get the things that you value. So God created me with a purpose in mind. Therefore, he valued that job getting done. Therefore, here I am. I intrinsically have value. So if I have this value, I should always look at that when my self-worth starts to plummet. When things start to get weird and I'm just like, I'm just not feeling it today. I got to understand that God put me here for a reason, for a job, for a specific set of skills to get these things accomplished. That, you know what? That has value. I'm worth something. Like, even though my kids may not be appreciating me today, even though my boss is not appreciating the things that I'm doing today, even though like all these things are going on in my world, God appreciates me and he values my effort, right? So we can go down a whole another rabbit hole about how even the things in your life, oh my gosh, even the things in your life that you have gone through that prepared you for another conversation, right? The traumas and things that I have gone through in my life that have propelled me to the place where I've wanted to sit down and talk about theology and therapy have, like, God knew I was going to go through these things. He knew I was going to get to a place where I needed to share these things with people. Boom. Like, we can go down a rabbit hole about how the things that you have gone through were just tools in your toolbox, but that's a whole nother episode. And we'll get to that at another day. But the next verse I have comes from Genesis chapter 1, verse 27. So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them male and female. Now, we're in 27 verses into the Bible, into the very first 27 verses. At this point, God has created the heavens, he's created the earth, he sent this ball spinning around the sun, he's filled it with all kind of animals and creatures and all kinds of fun things. But by verse 26, he decides to make man. And he decides to make man, and out of all the things he created, out of all the things he's created to this point, he has decided that man is the one that he is going to create in his own image. Not dolphins, gophers, puppies, mountain lions, meerkats, or elephants. He decided man was going to be the one created in the image of God. God created you, person listening or watching on the other side of that screen, in his own image. That even means the idiots you see in traffic are made in his own image. That even means Janice from accounting that you can't stand is made in his own image, right? But that in itself adds so much worth into our lives when you're dealing with low self-worth, because you were made to reflect the image of God. And that if you are going to believe that God exists, if you are going to believe that he is your Lord and Savior, then it is an immense idea to wrap your mind around, to be like, wow, he made me to reflect him. And that is also a big responsibility. And so that is where some of the things that I look at when I'm finding myself not really feeling like I have value, like what am I here for? There's a whole nother conversation to have with this. And maybe I'll do a part 2 when I finish this one up, to talk about how finding your purpose in life and finding your purpose in God's will really helps drive this idea of your self-worth. But I digress. We're going to keep going. I want to give you some practical steps to embrace God's given identity. So some of these things are what we would call basic, right? You're gonna hear these things. You're like, yeah, these are, of course, right? But let me be frank with you. You cannot get anywhere without learning the first steps, right? If you skip the first steps and try to go to the more complicated things, you don't get the foundation that you need to remain doing the complicated things. You don't hop on a bike and say, you know what, today I'm just gonna, forget the training wheels, forget the bicycle, I'm hopping on a unicycle first. That's not how that works. You always got to start baby steps, right? And so the first thing that I want to talk about, practical steps, is daily affirmations. Now, when I say daily affirmations, what I don't mean is I want you to stand in the mirror and say, I am God's chosen child every day. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you read the word, which is I encourage you to do daily. When you read the word, let the word affirm you, and that remember the same God that did all these things in the Bible for all these amazing reasons and all these amazing people and all these stories that are happening. Remember the same God that they are praying to and watching take action in their lives is the same God that made you and is the same God that loves you, right? That is the way we affirm ourselves daily when we're reading our word. So that's a 2 for, right? Affirm yourself daily by reading his word. The second one I want to talk about is prayer and meditation. I cannot overstate the importance of prayer. I spend so much time talking to God, like just in the past few weeks, that after starting this podcast, really, with all of you, the impact has already made an impact on my life. It's been astronomical. Just spending more time with God, just being able to go to God with my wins, my failures, and just conversations has changed the way I see the world around me. So for sure, take more time to pray. Community support is my next step. Community support is one of those endeavors as men that we don't do good at. We don't do good at. We do not do well because we don't like being open with other men. Like, we can be in a community as long as we like the same sport or we like the same hobby. But when we say, hey, I want to be in a community of people that just like being better men or like looking after our families better, we tend to shy away from that kind of stuff. But community is so important. You have to have a tribe around you. Like, I have brothers that I can just hit up and let them know when I'm down. I can hit up when I got wins, when I got things coming up. Like, I got brothers that I can really shoot with and just be like, hey, let me give you this scenario, and then you tell me if I made the mistake here, and they will hold you accountable. And I've got brothers that hold me accountable in all things. Like, the only reason Learning Manhood podcast has finally made it to YouTube is because one of my brothers has been holding me accountable and been on my neck because I said I was going to do it. And he's like, well, when is it going to start? What are you doing? So he's holding me accountable. And that is why community is so, so, so important. And the last thing I want to kind of leave you with before, I let you go about and kind of process and internalize some of this today, is that life can be a lot. And I feel you. I'm living this life just like you are. Life can make you feel like you're worth nothing, or even worse, that your life is worth nothing more than what you can provide for others. And that's a dark place to be in. We spend a lot of time on social media where they're talking about, high value men this, high value man that. And it's always attached to how much money you're making, what kind of cars you're driving, what kind of clothes you're wearing, not the context of your character. And that can make it very, very difficult, especially for my single brothers out there, to grow in their own manhood. But I'm here to tell you that God sees you. Not only does he see you, brothers, God sees you and he loves you. All of you, your imperfections, the things that you do wrong, the things that you do right, like, he loves you for who you are. And he sees you when you're putting in work. And he sees you even when you're too tired to put in work. He still loves you. His love is unconditional. And that is what we really need to hold on. That's really what we need to remember, that not only that God loves me, that my worth is predicated on his love. And his love is never going to come down. His love is never going to change. So if he loves me until the end of time, then I always have worth. And from one brother to another, just by you taking the time to just try to listen and figure out if this weird Eddie dude is for you, if Learning Manhood is a podcast you want to be associated with, just because you are taking the time to explore that, even if you never listen to another episode of mine again, if I never see you again, that is valuable. Because you are trying to do better for yourself. And you're trying to do better for the people around you. Learning Manhood is not just about making ourselves better, but it's about being better for everyone else around us. So, brother, I salute you for that. And I want to close with one last verse. It's Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Now, if this episode blessed you at all, and you know someone that might benefit from this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hang out with us on YouTube. We got a couple more things that we're looking to launch on the YouTube channel. We're going to keep trying to push out podcast episodes every week, but your boy's got a family and he's tired, right? So holla at your boy. Please don't hesitate to leave me a comment, drop me a like, subscribe, and hit me up on Instagram. God bless, and I'll see you next time.